Hi, welcome to Microeconomics for International Management. Today we are going to talk about oligopolistic market. What oligopoly is about? The word oligopoly comes from Greek word oligos, and oligos means a few. And this is exactly the number of sellers in the market. There are not many sellers like in perfect competition. There is not one single seller like in monopoly. Oligopoly means we've got many buyers and a few sellers. How many is actually a few? There is no precise answer to that, but we would say a few sellers would mean that each of them has a significant market share, and whether one more or one less a seller would appear in the market, that would have a significant influence on the situation of the other sellers. In oligopolistic market, all sellers know each other quite well. They are fully aware of how many competitors they have and what those competitors are like. Why do we have a few, not too many, sellers in the market? Well, again, because of entry and exit barriers. They are of a similar nature as the ones that we had in monopoly, so they could be natural. There are some markets where just a few businesses could produce and sell. These could be technological issues, that could be economic barriers, that could be legal barriers. Like, for instance, in Poland, we've got 4 major mobile operators, right? And this number 4 is simply because of some limited number of permits that were issued by Polish government. And on the other hand, we know that since the economies of scale are pretty high in the mobile market, there is no actually place for 100 or 200 of different operators. There are virtual operators, obviously, there are more of them, more than 4, but they all use the infrastructure that is made by the 4 major players. As you remember, for perfect competition, we said the product must be homogeneous. It's not perfect competition if it's heterogeneous. In monopoly, we said, well, this product cannot have close substitutes. So it's kind of unique in a sense. But for oligopolistic market, we see both homogeneous and heterogeneous products that work. So we've got heterogeneous products like cars, for instance, and the major main car manufacturers. Well, there are a few of them, like 10 companies in the world. There could also be homogeneous products like crude oil, for instance. It's pretty homogeneous. For our oligopolistic market, for our analysis, we will assume that there is perfect transparency of this market. And you remember, this is a kind of assumption that simply simplifies our considerations. So what are the first conclusions when it comes to oligopolistic market? You can see them here. So first of all, we would say there are strong interrelations between sellers. Right? They are highly dependent on each other, in the sense that the decisions of one seller in an oligopolistic market would have influence, sometimes very powerful influence, on the situation of others. The second important thing that we have to mention here is the fact that, unlike for a perfect competition or monopolistic market, we do not have one single theory of oligopolistic market. So there is no one dominating, prevailing model that we can describe here. There are many possible solutions, there are many possible outcomes of the oligopolistic situation in the market. This could be price competition or non-price competition. That could be some mutual relations, some alliances that are made, or that could be simply cooperation without any competition. There are at least a few typical situations in the oligopolistic market. So we have situations when all the players in the market try to set their prices and produce their quantity of production, their output, without consulting, without looking at others. Okay, that would usually lead to a very high production and a very significant decrease in the price, which is on one hand good for consumers, but maybe quite dangerous from a financial perspective for sellers. It is possible that there will be some kind of leadership in the market, and there will be one company making the decisions and others just adjusting to this decision. Or there could be the situation where all market participants, all the players would try to become such a leader. That would mean a very fierce competition, a very fierce fight between them. There could be some cooperation between them. There could be many outcomes, actually. We are going to analyze the most popular models of oligopolistic market, the ones that are quite often seen in the economic reality. But before we proceed, we will apply quite a few simplifications to our model. You know, the whole concept of oligopolistic market is already quite complex, quite complicated. Therefore, all the simplifications that we can make are very useful. First of all, let us reduce the number of players in the market to the lowest possible number. And the lowest possible number for oligopoly is 2. So let's reduce the number of our players to 2. This is called duopoly. Okay? For duopoly, it is easier to draw graphs, for instance, because we can use 2 dimensions, 1 dimension per 1 player. For 3 players, it would be more complicated because we need to use 3D drawing, right? For 4, 5, 6 players, that would be even more complicated. And also the analytical side of solving the problems. Mathematics is simply easier with 2 players, not more of them. Let's assume that the product they produce is the same. There are no significant differences when it comes to quality or reputation when you look at the products of those 2 players. Okay? That will eliminate all the problems connected with product differentiation, brand loyalty, and this kind of stuff. We obviously assume perfect transparency of the market as usual. So we will have 2 businesses, we will have 1 homogeneous product. As you can see, these are 4 variables at most. I mean, quantity produced by the first player, quantity produced by the second player, the price used by the first player, the price used by the second player. But wait a minute. Actually, if the product is the same, there are no differences here. And if there is perfect transparency of the market, would there be any differences between the price offered by the first and the second player? would they sell at different prices? And the answer is no. Our assumptions allow us to simplify our situation, our duopoly, even more, because there won't be any changes, because there won't be any differences between the price of the first and the second player, because under perfect market transparency and without any differences in quality, if one of them offers lower price, everyone would go to the one that offers this lower price. Okay? So the price would be the same. This is a very important piece of information for us. You can use it because actually, when we know that they would sell at the same price, then we can find the quantity they sell. Look at the market. If we know the quantity, we know the price. If we know the price, we know the quantity. So if we know the price at which they sell, we know how much together they would sell. The only problem that we have to solve actually is what would be the division of this Q between both players. So how much of this Q would be produced by the first one, let it be Q1, and how much will be produced by the second one, let's call it Q2. But we already know that the sum of Q1 and Q2 equals this block capital letter Q. That's the total production. We know the price, we know the quantity.